evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thursday. Welcome to our fourth episode of the CCESM Business Support webinars. And this evening, we will be presenting Elaborating Your Marketing Mix. As some of you may already know me, I am Luciana Raspai, and I am the Administrative and Business Support Director at the Chamber. And it is an honor for me to be here with you all again this evening. This evening, the presentation, the objective of our webinar is to help you to define the mixed marketing methodology and understand how to adapt it to your objectives. This webinar will help you to learn the methods to study your market, the concept of the marketing mix with the 5 Ps, and the development of a marketing strategy. As we have been seeing since the very beginning of our series, that having a proper marketing strategy is fundamental for the success of your business and also helping you to reach your target customer as well. And this evening, to present this topic, we have a dynamic presenter with us this evening, none other than Joy Carty, who is a project manager. To tell you a little bit about Joy, Joy, as mentioned, is a project manager with a degree in marketing, project management, and business development. Joy has many years of experience in strategy development for small businesses and associations. Ms. Carty is passionate about innovation and strongly believes that by having a clear strategy and a long-term vision is fundamental for the success and growth of a company. So we have someone with us again who is very much knowledgeable in the field that she is going to present. Before I turn the mic over to our presenter, I would just like to remind you the format of this webinar this evening. So Joy, Ms. Carty will be presenting for approximately 40 to 45 minutes. Then we will open the question and answer segment. During the presentation, I encourage you to leave your questions in the comment section, or if you wish to ask your question directly after the presentation, you will be able to do so. You just need to raise your hand using, of course, the hand up emoji. So with no further ado, I will turn over the mic to Joy Carty, and I will be back with you guys after the presentation for the question and answer segment. Do have a wonderful, informative session with Joy Carty. Joy Carty, you now have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Luciana. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Madam Raspai, for that presentation and introduction. It is a great pleasure for me to be here with you this evening to talk about a topic that is very interesting to me. I spent the better half of my studies learning about marketing, and a good portion as well of my professional years working in the said field. So without further ado, I will begin. As Ms. Raspai mentioned, the objectives of tonight's presentation will be to give you an overview on how to study your market, as well as how to put in place an effective marketing strategy using the tools that will be presented. So in order to do this, we will first begin by putting some context to what marketing is. Marketing is very vast, so I would like to put some context around that by giving you some definitions. We will then take a look at the tools that you would need to analyze your market and what it means to study your market when you're developing your marketing strategy. And then finally, we will look at what you must do to put that strategy in place and how to use that strategy in order to attract and retain your customers. What is marketing? So marketing is a buzzword that is used quite often today. It actually refers simply to the activity that a company would do to promote what they're selling, whether it be their products or their services. And it includes everything from advertising, sales, product delivery, to their customers or other businesses if they're in a B2C or B2B situation. So that is what marketing is, getting your products and services to the right persons. The next definition I'd like to share tonight is market analysis. So a market analysis, which we will go into a bit further in the presentation, is the process of gathering information about the market within an industry. This analysis will permit you to understand the dynamics of that market and to also be able to understand the customers and the different elements that make your market what it is, which is very important. And we'll see a bit more about that as we go along. The last definition I would like to share with you before we begin is what is the marketing mix? So the marketing mix is a theoretical framework in marketing, because there are many frameworks that you use in marketing, and we'll see more frameworks as we go along as well. But the marketing mix in particular is used by companies to make decisions that are efficient and effective. It enables them to have that competitive advantage or a competitive edge that will go in concordance with a strategy that management will put in place to achieve long-term aims and objectives. So these definitions, again, are the theoretical aspects. It's good to be able to differentiate them in order to fully understand what's going to come next. So we will begin, which is for me the first step in your process of developing your marketing strategy. Before you can make any decisions, before you can decide even what product you're going to sell or how you're going to sell it, you need to know where you're setting your foot. Remember, we spoke in the definitions about your market. So how do you study your market, and why, most importantly, do you need to analyze your market? So when you're analyzing your market, it allows you to do this one basic thing, which is collecting data. In last week's presentation by Mr. Arnell, he spoke a lot about data, managing it, and using it in order to drive your decision making. That is what market analysis is. Collecting the data to give you a better insight to your market and the situations that are taking place in that market. It also allows you to understand the latest trends of your market and the patterns that you may be able to identify that are taking place. And it also allows you to identify potential threats. So things that could be taking place that you would want to prepare for rather in the beginning of your marketing mix and your marketing strategy planning. So to be specific, This is an inevitable step for any business person willing to enter a market. So if you are new to business, you need to study your market in order to understand where you're setting your foot and where you're establishing your business. If you've already created a company, this is something that you will continuously do in order to understand the changes that are taking place in your market. There's a saying that says, you can't run a company on presumptions or just your gut feeling. You need to have substantial data to analyze, and those data are what are going to allow you to make wise decisions, calculated and structured decisions. You may be wondering, okay, we understand why we have to do it, but how do we do this? So the first thing you want to do when analyzing your market is to determine an objective. Why am I carrying out this study? Is it because I am a new business owner and I would like to better understand where I'm setting myself up? Or I already have a small company and I would like to launch a new product to the market. Therefore, I need to analyze it in order to see what is taking place. So your objective and the purpose of your study needs to be clear. Then you're going to take some time and analyze your industry. Check out the demographics, the segmentation. You're going to check out what are the needs on the market, what are the barriers to entry within that segment, and also if there are any regulations that you should be aware of. The next step is to pinpoint and target your customers. Who am I selling to? Why am I selling to them? And what do they want? At the same time, you're going to start comparing your competition. So who are the other persons on the market that are selling the same things as me and on the same market that I'm trying to enter? And how are they doing things? Lastly, you're going to gather additional data. So additional data could be any prior studies that have been done concerning your market or concerning your industry, any studies that have been done concerning your target market, any data that you could get your hands on, you should try to do that. Not only data that you can find online, but you could also create data. So we're going to look in a bit at the tools that you would use to be able to do that. Once you've gathered all of your data, you're going to analyze it. And in that stage, there are also tools that we will see in a bit that will help you to analyze your findings. And last but not least, which for me is also the most important, is not just to do a market study and just put it down on the shelf with your business plan, for example. No, this study is supposed to give you the foundation you need in order to put things in place, a strategy in place based on data, based on numbers, based on concrete information. Next, you have the tools. So remember I spoke about frameworks in the beginning, the marketing mix being one of them. There are many, many, many tools that were created and that are still being created, as we will see as well, that help you analyze your market and that help you put your marketing strategy into place. So some of those tools are the 5 forces of Porter. You have the customer mix, you have the trends and development framework, you have the regulatory framework, you have your SWOT analysis, you have your gap analysis, you have your PESTEL. So tonight, unfortunately, because of time, we won't be able to go into every one of these tools, but I've chosen 2 tools that will permit you to study and analyze your market externally, and also to analyze you as a company internally in order for you to understand how we bridge the analysis to the strategy. So the tools that I've chosen are the PESTEL and the SWOT analysis. For the PESTEL is an analysis, is an acronym actually for a tool that is used to identify the macro environment, which are the external forces that a company would face. External forces such as the political arena, the economic situation, the social situation of the area where your business will be implanted, how technology is going to affect your company, the legal things that you need to look at, and also the environmental factors. So, though this may seem a bit far-fetched or a bit theoretical, I'm going to break it down so that it makes much more sense to you. The advantages of the PESTEL is that it will provide you an advantage and an advance warning on certain things that you as a company should be looking at when taking an assessment of your market. Let's say, for example, in the political arena, you have the stability of your government. What are the situations politically that could have a direct effect on your business? The next thing that you could look at is also it encourages you as a company to consider these external factors when you're in operations, but also when you're putting that strategy into place. So when we talk about the legal factors, what are the taxation policies for my market, or are there any rules or any degrees that I specifically need to have in order to carry out my business? How is technology affecting the company that I'm trying to create? Do I need to think about websites? Are the companies in my field more gearing towards an online strategy? What are the economic situations that I need to look at, or the social situations that I need to look at, or even the environmental situation? Is the segment that I'm entering in facing environmental issues where there's supposed to be special warnings? Is it a company that is going to have face attitude or a backlash from customers where the environmental aspect is concerned? So those are the things that you need to take into account. Now, as every tool, there are limits. Researchers that have looked at the PESTEL have said that it's quite monotonous, meaning that it's not sufficiently developed to allow you to have something that is fluid rather. So they encourage that you use it with the other tools. So the different tools that I mentioned prior. So looking at your competition, looking at the market size and share, the trend development, or even the regulatory framework, all of these other tools work hand in hand with the tools such as the PESTEL. The next tool that we're going to look at is the SWOT analysis. So the SWOT analysis is also an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This tool is used by businesses when they are planning for the future. So if you are a new business, you're planning to launch, that is in the future, this is one of the tools that you will definitely work with. It is used to highlight both internal factors, so the micro factors, and external factors, the macro factors, that could affect your business. So the strengths and weaknesses are internal, and the opportunities and threats are external. What is interesting with the SWOT as well is that it is based on, first you're looking inside and then you're looking outside. If you do some research on marketing tools, you will see that there is the opposite, the TOWS, TOWS, which looks at the external factors first and then the internal factors. The strengths can be identified by asking questions like, what is my competitive advantage on the market? What is my unique selling point? What are the important things that I should consider, or I would want persons to consider when looking at my business? Now, the weaknesses would be, what are the things that that I know in advance that I need to work on? Are there traits of me as a person that I need to work on, or are there other factors that are going to make it difficult for me to face the market? Then you have the external factors. So the external factors if we go back to the pastel, this is where the tools mesh together. So the pastel looks at all things that are outside of your company. So you could actually take your political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors, and you could put them into two categories: opportunities or threats. And opportunities will be the factors or the things that are going to be give you a competitive advantage. So okay, on my in my field there is a tax decrease that is taking place that is on the legal point. So I'm going to place that into an opportunity. And I know that for me, I have low financial capacity right now. So I'm going to jump on that. And that is an opportunity that is going to help me. So what you will end up doing is crossing these elements in order to help you think about your strategy. So don't be alarmed. We're going to have a complete example at the end of the presentation. One other thing before I move on is concerning the weaknesses, especially in the beginning stages. And whenever this tool is used by you, please bear in mind that when you're talking about your weaknesses, weaknesses for me can be considered an opportunity because it's something that you could get better at. You need to be brutally honest with yourself in order to get better. If you pretend like that weakness or that thing that you have to work on does not exist, then later on, when you put your strategy in place, you will not take that into account and you will end up facing it and not being prepared properly to be able to handle that specific weakness. We're going to now go right into the marketing strategy. But before we do that, I would just like to recap really briefly. So remember, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, you need to be able to look at all of those factors, whether external or internal, in order for you to have the proper data to go forward in your marketing strategy planning. It is, for me, important that you also try to prioritize, because it can become a bit overwhelming when you realize maybe you have a lot of weaknesses. I maybe don't speak the language, or I'm not familiar with business management, or I don't know how to use the internet, or, try to prioritize all of the elements, whether it be your threats or even the opportunities that you might want to jump on. Prioritize them by urgency and by importance. It will help you to navigate through, your strategy planning. And also, no matter the tool that you choose to use, analyzing your market is not a one-tool job. We also saw that. Remember, we used the pastel and we complemented it with the Swot. So you need multiple tools in order to properly assess the market that you're going to enter in order for your strategy to make sense to you. And most importantly, that you cover all of your bases. So now that we've taken a look at analyzing the market and the different tools that you could use to do that, we're going to now look at identifying your goals and putting in place a plan in place, which is your marketing strategy. Strategy should combine your business goals and as well as your marketing goals in one comprehensive plan. A good marketing strategy will help you to identify, to anticipate, and to satisfy your customer requirements. Remember when we spoke about the definitions, we talked about what is a marketing strategy, which is basically, I have a product or a service and I want it to meet the specific needs. So I'm putting a plan in place to do that. So that is what a good marketing strategy will help you to do. It will also help you to stand out and to differentiate yourself from your competitors on the market and to be a bit innovative. Though nowadays, innovation and being innovative is kind of like a buzzword, everybody's trying to be innovative. Um, Having a strategy will actually permit you to do that, to step out of the square and to do something differently because you would have analyzed the situation and taken proper steps to go forward. Before we go into the marketing mix, I would like to just give you, for your general knowledge, some history on that tool. So when we speak about businesses, you have companies that sell products, and you have companies that sell services. When you, historically speaking, the marketing mix was divided into 4 P's, which were the product, the price, the place, and promotion. So that is generally used, in order to market products. When you speak about services, other factors tend to come in place. You have people, you have processes, and you have the physical evidence of a service. So when you do a service, you don't take a pen, I'm going to sell you that pen, you have that thing. But when you're selling a service, it's a bit more tricky in order to convince the person of what they're actually getting. So you have that physical evidence aspect that you kind of need to take into account when you're putting that strategy into place. For the purpose of the presentation, I've kind of meshed both together, and we will be using the 5 P's. So the products, the price, the people, the promotion, and the place. This tool was done in 1960 by someone called Neil Barden, and he came about, or popularized rather, the idea of having a marketing mix, and also using this mix to be able to help companies organize the way they went about strategizing their marketing. So we're going to take some time now really quickly and go into each one of those P's in order for you to get a better understanding as to how your strategy is being put into place. So the first thing is the product. So the product refers to the item or the service that your business plan is going to offer customers. The product is normally supposed to fulfill a need or an absence rather in the market, and also fulfill a customer demand for something specific. Before your marketing team or yourself can even prepare a strategy to sell that product, you need to know what you're selling, what need does it satisfy? What are the features? How does it look? How does it feel? How does it taste? What is it made with? All of the questions that you could possibly think of concerning your product, this is where you think about it. What are the colors? What is it going to be called? Is there a specific phrase that I want this product to be linked with? All of those are the questions that you're going to ask yourself when speaking about your products. The next P is the price. So when we speak about price, it refers to how much you as a company, you're willing to sell this product, knowing that you have a margin that you're trying to meet, and you're also trying to make money, because you go into business, it's to be able to be sustainable, or you would have created a nonprofit. So you're not going to sell at cost. So you need to be able to put all of those questions as to what is the price that my customer is going to be willing to pay? What price can I sell my product or service for that is not going to cost me money when I put all of the factors in place, the shipping, the delays, other suppliers that I have to get products from in order to make the final product. So all of those questions you need to ask yourself. So I've put a few of those questions on the screen for you to kind of get an idea. Remember, again, later on, we're going to go through this step really quickly in an example. The next step is the place. So that is the third P. The place is, where am I actually selling these products? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be through a storefront? Is it going to be through both those distribution channels? Will I be having my own store? Will I be working with other companies in order to distribute for me? How am I going to handle that? Am I doing drop shipping? What are the steps that I'm going to take to get my product to the customers? When asking those questions, and you'll see as we go along, those P's are actually intertwining, because you need to know what you're selling in order to know the right place to be able to place it to be sold. So those are some of the questions that you're going to ask yourself. The next P is promotion. So lots of times when you think about marketing, people say it's the promotion directly, because you're thinking social media, you're thinking communication, you're thinking sales promotions, you're thinking public relations and events. All of those elements are a part of their marketing strategy, but as you've seen, it is not only. This is just the fourth P, and we've seen that there are 7 of them. So there are lots of things that you need to take into consideration when putting your strategy into place. So promotion. Your promotion is all of the variety of activities that would permit you to get the word out there that you are selling your product, and where you're selling your product, rather. It actually depends on the stage that you are at in the product life cycle, that you're going to promote it differently. Sometimes you might use a mailing to be able to reach your clientele, or you might have a seasonal market, because you are renting out an Airbnb, and the tourism season is between, I think it's November to April, if I'm not mistaken. So that period of time is when you're going to be pushing your product or your service, because it's a seasonal market. You have to look as well at what are your competitors doing. And if I can't go back because it's kind of too many slides back, but one of the tools in identifying your market is the competitors strategy assessment, which allows you to do benchmarking as well. So a benchmark is simply looking at what others are doing and comparing it to what you're trying to do, and seeing what are the strong points that they have and how you can learn from those strong points in order to do better. I'm going to move along because I'm cautious of time. The fifth P that we have tonight is people. So as I said, initially there were 4 Ps, then there were 7. For tonight, we're only going to look at 5. So the 5th one is people. People is an element that I feel a lot of business owners tend to neglect. They tend to neglect it, and it kind of costs them. I know lots of people complain about customer service. A lot of people complain about entering a business and not having a proper processes in place for the clients. You as a business owner, you need to think about how your staff, or how you are going to welcome the people that you're going to work with. Who are the persons that you're going to actually be doing business with? What are the type of people that best suits the vision and the brand that you're trying to bring about? These are some important questions. You can't have, for example, a customer service representative who doesn't have empathy for the customers. If the customer has a situation, the person can't be aggressive on the phone. You need to ask yourself some questions pertaining to that as well, because without your customers, you kind of don't have a business. So let's recap really quickly. All 5 Ps or 7 Ps, if you look at the other 2 that are missing, need to be considered in relation to one another. As we said, your product, where you're getting it from, how it's made, etc., will affect the price. What type of product will affect where it's going to be placed. The type of product, the price as well will determine how you're going to promote it. And all of those things are also going to determine the type of people that you're going to be working with. So they make an essential mix, a full, not a soup, but yeah, that you as a company would need in order to market, so bring to the market your product or your service. I think it's important as well for me to mention that these are conceptual frameworks. Remember, I said that they work hand in hand. You need to use different ones in order to correlate or challenge the ideas that you have come up with. It's important that you use many tools in order to make your decision. If you're just basing yourself on one thing, you might miss out on one important factor that is going to cost you when determining your marketing mix. So the 5 Ps again: product, price, place, promotion, and people. Now, remember I said that there are this 4P, 7P tool was created in the 1960s, so it's quite old for the modern world. Lots of things have changed. I should put it more like that. And between time, marketers are continuing to research in order to make things better for business owners. And they've come up with 2 other models that I'm going to briefly share so that you just have an idea that they exist. So we have the SAVE model. So the SAVE model stands for solution, access, value, and education. This came about in 2013, so it's a bit more recent. And it was first published in the Harvard Business Review. So Harvard marketing students came up with this model, and they basically said that, okay, if I'm bringing something to the market, I'm not supposed to look at the product. Remember, in the 4 Ps, you have product first. So I'm not looking at the product, but I'm looking at the solutions that I'm trying to bring to the market. Then I'm not looking at the place, but I'm going to look at how I can make my solution accessible to the persons that I want to sell to. I am not going to look at the promotion or the price, rather. I'm going to look at the value. So, what are you getting from this product? What value am I bringing to my customers? And lastly, we're not going to promote, rather, we're going to educate them. So, if I am doing a t-shirt company that uses eco-friendly cotton, I'm going to educate my customers on how to wash this shirt and how they can save water, saving the planet, and all of those good stuff. That's the SAVE model. The 4Cs model now is a marketing mix strategy, and this was introduced in 1990, so still recent, about 30 years old. And this was presented by Robert F. Lauterburn. So he says that for him, you're not looking at a product, but you're looking at the customer. What are their needs? And in order to know what am I giving the customer? So everything is centered around the customer. How can I make this product, place this product in a place that is convenient to my customer? We're not talking about solutions, we're not talking about products, we're talking about customer needs. We're also going to look at the cost. So what is the minimum wage where I'm selling my product? How can I make this product meet my customers' cost, their their mental price, like the price that they've set in their minds for this product. How can I meet that? And lastly, I'm not going to educate them or promote my product to them, but I'm going to have a conversation. So we're going to communicate with our customers in order to continually meet their needs. So these are just two other frameworks that exist. Whichever framework you decide to choose to elaborate your strategy, please bear in mind that you can't just use one framework. I encourage you highly to use different ones in order to ask yourself the right questions to answer your 4 or 5 P's. We're almost there. So we're going to use an example. And for those of you who know me, you know that I also love to eat. Madame Raspa is not the only foodie here. I also enjoy a good meal. And I decided to take back the motherland restaurant idea that she had. And for us to really quickly and briefly go through the different steps that we just saw together. So our goal is to implant this African restaurant in St. Martin. Reminder really quickly of the process. You have your market analysis, where you're going to look at your external factors and your internal factors. You're going to look at your marketing strategy. So you're going to set these objectives for your company using your marketing mix. What am I selling? Who am I selling it to? How do I intend to promote it? Who are the people that I'm going to be working with? All of those good stuff. You're going to then put in place that plan. So remember I said you're getting all of this data in order to make calculated decisions. So we're going to do this exercise together in order to see kind of how it's done. So we're going to pretend, again for time, that I actually did the pastel and all of those amazing tools that we saw. And we finished off with our SWOT analysis. So for the Motherland restaurant, my strength is that I have 30 plus years of experience in this field, because I've been cooking all sorts of food. I've worked in different restaurants. So I know about food. That's one of my strengths. Another strength of my project is that someone left me a beautiful parcel of land in Colombia, and this is a perfect location for my beautiful The Motherland restaurant. As well, another strength is that I already have good partnerships with the local farms, and I have the right people for sourcing my spices directly from the various countries in Africa that I am going to be cooking the dishes from. However, I'm a bit honest with myself. The staff that I want to hire, so I've identified a few people that I would like to work there, but yeah, they need training because they don't know much about the African continent. They don't know much about the food and the dishes that I'm going to be selling, so I need to train them. I myself am not known by the masses for my cooking. I'm not a renowned chef. My entourage knows that I cook, but I don't feel like I'm known enough to be able to put this restaurant out there. So I've just identified 2 weaknesses. I hope you're starting to see a bit how the process goes. Then in the opportunities, I've identified that tourism is doing well. Every night I go on the Boulevard de Grand Case, the restaurants are filled. So there are people here. People are here. Things are looking good. Okay. St. Martin is known as the gourmet capital. And though my restaurant will not be in Grand Case, I already have that advantage where selling my restaurant is concerned, because we are on an island where people love food. We also are on a melting pot, so I won't have any issues with People wondering, why am I selling African food in St. Martin? Because on St. Martin, we have lots and lots and lots of different restaurants. And last opportunity, the CCE, as well as other institutions, have lovely initiatives for new businesses. So I'll be able to jump on those initiatives in order to get my business up and running. Now, I did a proper market study. So I saw that import taxes on the rise. I'm going to be bringing in things from Africa. I have to ship them by boat. They're going to go to France and they're going to come down and then they're going to come back up. That is going to cost me a lot of money. Things are taking very long to reach here. So that is a threat for my business. What if they don't get here on time? The market as well is uncertain. And then we have the sanitary situation. So here we see, okay, I kind of analyzed a bit what is taking place in the market, and that is going to help me in order to go forward with my strategy. Then we have the marketing strategy using the marketing mix. So your 5 Ps. For my product, I would like to have fresh quality products. So, okay, I kind of already have the partnerships with the various farms on the island. I want to have a special wine list with wines imported from South Africa. Okay, so I already have those vendors. I've already started speaking with them. And then I want to have authentic sauces that are going to be made with spices, again, shipped all the way from Africa, from various countries in Africa. For my price, I'm looking at a value-based price, because when I asked myself all of the questions concerning the price, this is going to cost me a lot of money to bring in my fresh products and my special wine and my authentic sauces. So I can't do what do you call that? Not, I don't want to use the word cheap, but I can't do McDonald's prices or the same prices that low cost prices is the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to do value based. So you're going to pay money, but you're paying for the value behind it. You're paying for an experience. Then when I look at the place, I have a lovely location already, and seeing that I'm looking for at a high class restaurant. My location will have outdoor seating. I'm going to look at the decorations, etc. For the promotion, I intend to have a website. I'm going to have social media accounts. I'd like to have some billboards where persons driving in their cars are going to see my lovely restaurant and the setting and stuff. Okay, great. And for the people, I've already determined that I want my staff to wear uniforms because they have to have this high standing. And I also would like for the suppliers that I'm working with to be as local and authentic as possible. So I kind of have an idea of my marketing mix and what I want. So these are my objectives for the motherland. Now, you have your strategy. These are the objectives that I want. I've done my study, so I know more or less the things that I need to worry about. Now we're gonna go into the plan, because you have your strategy, but you have to plan now how you're gonna go about it. And the first thing that we're gonna plan is the opening of the motherland. Again, this is just an example in order for you to get an idea. So to plan my opening, I am going to create an opening event that is going to set the tone for my new restaurant. How am I going to do this? I'm going to train my staff on the menus. I'm going on the origin of the various dishes that will be served. I'm going to work on an amazing decor. I'm going to have pictures. My menus are going to be off the chain. Then I'm going to work on the launch campaign. So for this campaign, I'm going to bring awareness about my new restaurant. I'm going to set the tone of the type of restaurant it will be. So whether that be through interviews, whether that be through videos, I'm going to work with my team to have a campaign that is going to cover all of the bases. Then I've decided in this plan of mine to carry out the strategy of keeping that high-end value-based price restaurant, that I need to host a pre-launch event that is going to be very top-notch on invitation only, where I'm going to invite food experts, officials, influencers that are going to come in, and they are going to share on their social media so everybody can see my restaurant. I'm also going to give incentives for publicity, and I'm going to set up a review station. So at the end of my pre-launch event, I'm already going to have reviews in the newspapers, reviews on TripAdvisor. All of these accounts are going to be set up. I Once I've done all of that, I'm going to be able to assess in order to readjust my plan going forward. So your marketing plan will be by objectives, as I said previously. And for each one of those objectives, you're going to list out how you are going to go about those steps. I will conclude by saying the following. Strategy, whether it be your marketing strategy, whether it be financial, vision, business, whatever it is, Ellie Pido says it's a fancy word for coming up with a long-term plan, and most importantly for me, putting that plan into action. So I hope that my presentation was useful, informative, and I would ask you, are you ready to strategize? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Carty, for this wonderful and very informative presentation. And thank you for actually doing my strategy plan for my restaurant. I thank you for that. That is one step less
right?
one thing less I have to do. I would like to thank you for demystifying this evening what is a strategy, because a lot of time I receive entrepreneur who feels like, hey, this is, and he said it very well, it is a fancy word. It's just a matter of action that you're going to put in place in order for you to reach your objective.
Yes.
With no further ado, we are going to jump right into the question and answer segment. I've noticed that some persons, I don't know if it was so well explained that they don't have any questions or they're shy, but don't worry, the chamber will not charge you if you ask a question this evening. However, I'm seeing a first question in the comment section. So I will go right ahead and address that question to you, Ms. Carty. And it's a question from Alex Pierre. Which are your number one go-tos for analyzing the market?
Okay, so I'm back. Can you see the tools to analyze the market slide?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I would say that there are some not fancy, but popular tools that persons use, such as the 5 forces of Porter, which allows you to identify the forces that are outside of your company, and also whether or not those forces are strong or not. So, for example, you have the barrier to entry. How difficult is it for me as a company to enter that market? I can think of, for example, where that force is concerned, creating a club or a nightlife company here on St. Martin. Madam Haspai will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the barrier to entry on that specific market is quite high, because you need specific authorizations that are not very easy to obtain. So that is one of the tools that is very interesting to look at. The pastel is one of my favorite as well because it permits you to look at various factors and various elements that would help you to analyze your market. And then I think benchmarking is always very interesting to do as well. Um, there's nothing new under the sun, and you don't need to sit down and try to figure it all out on your own. You can look at what has been done, what has been the best in your industry, and see how you can make it better. So those would be my top three, as well as the SWOT.
All right. Thank you very much. And I also confirming what you just said. So the questions are coming in. Very good, guys.
Boy.
So I have another question from Alex Pierre. He's very much inspired this evening. In my everyday job, I often see this situation. I already registered my business because I had an urgent request for my services. Does it still make sense for me to do a market analysis?
Oh, definitely. Is that the end of the question?
Yes, that's the end of the question.
Oh, definitely. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but if I didn't, I'm gonna say it now. Your market analysis is not something that you are going to do only once. This is something that you are going to do multiple times throughout your business life cycle. I believe it's Mr. Arnold who explained that his business model actually changed, I believe it's 5 times over the course of its 20 years existence. And in order to make those changes, he had to analyze the market. So as a business owner, you will continuously be analyzing your market, or I highly encourage you to continuously analyze your market, be up to date on the latest laws, on the latest trends, in order for you to stay up to date. Your marketing mix is not something that is set in stone and that is never going to change. It actually changes as the market around you changes. And you have to have that flexibility to be able to adjust as you go along. Maybe in a year, you're readjusting, maybe a product, you launch it and it's not working. You have to be quick on your feet to say, okay, how am I going to adjust? What is going wrong? And why is this not working in the market despite the data that I have collected? You go back again and you readjust and you redo those questionnaires, those focus groups. You do over your benchmarking, you check how are the others adapting their strategy to what is taking place.
Thank you for that answer. The other question, you already gave information elements pertaining to that, but I'll still ask it. So it's from Jerlene, and the question is, would you advise an already business owner to time overview their market strategy? Yes. And if so, what stage in their business should they do so? So I don't know if you want to add some elements to that.
I'm just going to add a time frame. I would say at least once a year, if not every 6 months. The business today has changed so much. Social media, all of the online platforms, technology is taking such a place in the world that you have to continuously update yourself and make sure that you are not only respecting the new laws, but that you are actually giving your customers what they need, because customer needs are also changing. So that is something that you will have to implement directly in your strategy as well. And by saying that, it made me think on customer feedback, which is something a lot of businesses don't do. Using customer feedback is also a tool that you could use to analyze your strategy. Because if you're getting feedback on, I don't know, the shipping is taking too long, or when I receive my package, it's always broken. You have to look at, okay, maybe I was sending these things in poly mailers, but I need to look into a box where, so I'm going to change my packaging, and that is changing your marketing mix. So continuously, at least once a year, every 6 months, when things are picking up a bit more in terms of speed and your products are also expanding, you need to keep up to date.
Thank you for that answer. As you mentioned just now, surveys.
Mhm.
I will permit myself to ask the question.
Yes.
I've noticed a lot of times when a business is in formation, a lot of people
Mhm.
use surveys to go and get the information or to analyze their market. What is
Mhm.
your take on that, and what advice would you give to someone who's actually going to use that method in order to test out and see if their product or service is needed on the market?
So, as I said in the beginning, well, rather when we were talking about the tools, and I'm going to pull that back up because what you're saying is actually very important. So, when you're doing a survey, you are only getting the feedback from um, the customers. Analyzing your market is not only the persons that you're selling to. Your market is also the person that you're going to do business with. It is also your competitors. It is also your suppliers. It is also the government entities. So you need to be able to use as many of these tools as possible, especially in the beginning. Now, when you will go on in your business life cycle, rather, you will learn rather naturally which tool you are going to turn to in order to reanalyze or to review your strategy. For example, the regulatory framework, you're maybe going to do it in the beginning, but you're only going to use that again when something changes on the legal aspect of your sector. Um, the competitor analysis, you're going to do it in the beginning, but every time a new competitor comes on the market, you're going to have to reevaluate that. So this is doing surveys is a good thing. I'm not going to say it's not, because it's important to know what your customers want, so that's the customer mix. However, it is as equally important to analyze the other aspects of your market.
All right. Moving forward with the other question, well, that's more for me. Good evening. Can this informative slide be forwarded via email? So all slides and presentation will be available at the end of the series, which will be on the 3rd of May, where we will be having our last webinar. So then we will be forwarding all presentation, and also all the recordings will be available on our website as well, and you will be informed as soon as those information are accessible. The next question is for you, Ms. Carty. From Oliver: we often hear entrepreneurs complaining about the lack of statistics on our territory. Do you have any suggestions apart from the INSEE website, for example, where we can find some information?
So, statistics is something that is very difficult in our region in general, because we tend to underestimate the importance of data, and not qualitative data, which is people's feedback, but quantitative data, which is numbers. So, in terms of statistics, it all depends on what you are looking to analyze. For example, if you are looking to check your market size and your market shares, I agree that it may be complicated in the beginning to analyze this factor. However, you can, with the marketing size and share framework, identify your competitors, and with the way that they are functioning, looking at their what you call that, not their revenue, their chiffre d'affaires, Madame Raspail, in
Their
English,
turnover.
their turnover. Thank you. You can analyze, okay, so if the market is approximately, I'm going to use small numbers because I'm not good with mental calculations. So 100,000 euros, if that's the market, and I'm seeing that competitor A is 25,000, competitor B is 35,000, competitor C is 5,000. Then I know, okay, these are the biggest competitors, and I need to look at them in order for me to determine the market size and share. So there are ways to work around the data, but that would mean that you would have to create that yourself, or within your study, and as time goes along, you will compile data together, and you will be able to make your own analysis. I hope I've answered your question, Oliver.
I believe you did, and I would agree with Oliver when he says that yes, there are a lot of well, we lack our statistic. So your study market might be a tedious task to do
Yes.
in your journey process, but you just have to, and I think I did mention that, get as much as information as you can. If you have, I'll take the example of the surveys. Get as much as possible persons that you can, and not only because we talk about the surveys for the customers, but you can also reach out to suppliers. You can also reach out to
Very good.
competitors. There will be a way for you to reach out to the competitors also, but you need to carry out your study market as large as possible in order to get as maximum of information in order to allow you to be able to define your marketing strategy to the best. Moving to our next question. So Sandrine is also asking for the replay, and again, that will be available after the end, at the end of the webinar series. We have another question by Fayola. What would be your recommendations for good social media marketing and promotions?
So social media is a tricky subject because it is the easiest way today. It has taken such a place in society that it is the easiest way to reach your potential customers. But before even analyzing your or deciding on a social media marketing strategy, I would first advise you to make sure that the customers that you are trying to reach are actually on social media, and that is the easiest way to reach them. So you would have to do your customer segmentation and also make those profiles. So for example, customer one is going to be a mother in her mid-30s who shops online and etc., etc. Okay, and she has this amount of income. So is this the demographic that is using social media? So that is the first step. The second step would be what you are actually selling, because some products and services are difficult to sell on social media, and it could make the customer cycle in terms of process of selling quite complicated. But once you've made the analysis and you've decided that that is an integral part of your strategy, I would then focus on what are the key messages that I want to send out. Why am I using Facebook or Instagram? Is it to bring awareness about my company? So for example, in your marketing mix, you have in the save model, for example, instead of promotion, it's education. Am I more of a save model type of framework where I am using my social media accounts to educate persons about a specific cause? Or am I more using my social media account to just simply do promotions? So there I'm going to have a lot of ads on social media that are going to be running in order to reach my target market. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Once that is done, you have to keep in mind that according to the social media tools that you're using, your strategy needs to be adapted. You can't use the same strategy for Facebook as you would for Instagram. Instagram is really a tool that is based on, well, used to be rather based on pictures. Today, if you look at the tool, it's more based on videos. So it went from being a tool where you put pretty pictures and you get a lot of likes, but the algorithm on the application today has changed completely. And in order to get persons to actually see your post, you need to follow a certain amount of steps. So according to the channels that you're using, you're going to have to adapt your strategy. And then you're going to have to align your messages, as I said previously. Another thing with your social media marketing is consistency. It is very, very important to have a plan that you could actually manage. Lots of times, persons jump on social media and then the business picks up and they completely forget to update their Facebook, or they have a sale going on and they don't post anything, or they do post, but the quality of the pictures are not up to par or are not representative of their company. So you have to make sure that your strategy overall is, because this is going to be your storefront. So this is the image that people will have of you when they look you up online. So those are the key steps that I would advise. So first, and make sure that your customers are on that platform. Identify how you intend to use it and why you're using it. And then 3, adapt your messages and your content to the correct platform choices.
Thank you for clarifying that, Miss Carty, because I know that a lot of people just post on Instagram and they just have it share on their Facebook, makes it more easier. But
Mm-hmm.
you highlighted the difference and why you should use one tool as opposed to another one. So thank you very much for that
Mm-hmm.
clarification. And thank you, Fayola, for actually asking the question.
If I can just add a small nugget pertaining to social media, social media has also evolved in their statistics as well. So in your business support tool, I can't remember the name that they have for it. Just give me 30 seconds. The business suite. So you have your business suite, and in this, you are able to check your metrics. So who is actually looking at your page? Are they liking it? What campaigns are working or not working? Take some time. Facebook also has some videos to teach you how to actually use their back office. So you should take some time as well in your strategy. This is an integral part of it in order to understand your market online.
Thank you. Next question from Alex. I am really thinking on opening a business, so I'm asking and getting this free information. So which tool do you recommend for a consultant activity? And I believe which tool as in to do your market analysis in your marketing mix.
I'm not sure I fully understand the
So the activity will be a consultant activity.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore they have to carry out, of course, their market analysis and then
Mm-hmm.
define their marketing strategy.
Well,
So they would like to know which tool do you recommend
to
for
analyze the
to
market.
analyze the market, taking into consideration that just now in the presentation,
Mm-hmm.
you emphasized that there were the 4 P's which will focus on if you're selling a product, and the
Or your
7
service.
P's if your service.
So first of all, no matter the service or the product, the tools remain the same. So I would still say to try to use as many of them as possible. Where things change, however, would be, as you just said, Luciana, would be between the 4 P's and the 7 P's. So when developing your strategy, you're going to want to look at other factors rather than the product, which in your case would be your service. Your place would remain the same because it could be I'm receiving you in my office, or I am coming to you, or it's an online consultancy company. The price would remain the same. Questions, the promotions as well. People, are you going to be working alone or with someone else? Now, where it's interesting is the process and the physical evidence. So for a consultant business, I would advise you paying close attention to the process between when your customer contacts you and when they receive or you deliver the objective of the meeting. So let's say you're doing a consultancy in marketing. You would want for that person to be able to come in and for it to be clear in terms of what are the steps for this consultancy business, what are the steps that the customer is going to go through while working with you. And then the physical evidence, what are you receiving? Is it I'm giving you a USB key with all of the documents on it? Am I giving you a canvas that we're going to fill out together and that you will be able to take home? Am I teaching you a methodology so you're leaving with knowledge that you will then be able to apply, and I'm going to work with you to be able to bring that to fruition? What are the physical evidences that you would be able to promote, and also what are the processes that you're going to put into place? Keeping in mind that as a consultant, you, and according to the industry that you're in, you're still going to have to look at all of the other aspects of your market. So it comes back to, why are you even analyzing the market? You need to be able to check the trends. Are persons even contacting consultants nowadays? People sometimes say YouTube is my best friend. I go there are free videos, and I can actually learn what I need to and do everything that I need using YouTube. Your competition, every person with an extensive knowledge can give consultancy sessions pertaining to their area of expertise. So you are analyzing the market as a consultant using all of the tools, but where the difference would come in again would be in that marketing mix framework as to how am I going to take this information to make sure that my marketing mix, where my objectives of how I intend to do things are going to be explained. How am I going to use the physical evidence, the process, the people, and the four other P's?
Thank you very much, Ms. Carty, for that answer. I have another question. So you find yourself, we got all that wealth of information, and I am finding myself with my project, and I have to do my marketing mix. Where do I get that information? How do I go about it? Whether it may be the marketing mix, and also if I have to do service, what tool do you recommend for that? Google Form, Office Form, which do you recommend?
Okay, so your marketing mix, which are your 5 P's or your 7 P's, this comes from you. Nobody knows what you want to do better than you. The product, so remember we kind of looked at the questions. What does the customer want from the product or service? That question, you have to be able to answer it. So whether it is through your surveys, that's where you're going to get that information. What needs does my customer have that I want to satisfy? That you're also going to get it from your surveys, and also from maybe other data sources that you may find pertaining to your market. Now, when it comes to surveys or any other form of qualitative or quantitative data collection, Google Form or forms on the Microsoft Suite or what do you call that, Survey Monkey, or all the other online tools that exist. It all depends really on you. Because in the end, you will still have to, and I think if I pull back up the steps, in the end, you will still have to analyze your findings. So whatever tool is easiest for you to use, because you don't want, it's already a tedious task. You don't want to add on top of that, you having to learn a whole new tool and getting frustrated and overwhelmed. You want this to be as straightforward as possible for you. So I would advise using the tools that you are most comfortable with once the results that you're looking for are reachable through those tools. If you use Google Forms, you would get an Excel sheet where you would have the data that you could then use to create your graphics, etc. Survey Monkey, and even on Google Forms, you have in the back office, you already have the pie charts, etc., that are created for you to help you to analyze your data. So again, choose the tools that are best fitted for you. And then for the marketing mix, take the time to ask yourself the proper questions. And the questions that you can't answer are those questions that you're going to want to use when you're doing your surveys or your customer feedback sessions.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Carty. I believe that I have 3 more questions, and that's going to wrap it up for the question and answer segment. I have someone is asking, can you give a recap of the Porter 5 forces on the market analysis, please? If you can do that.
Swiftly. Okay. So I didn't jot down the Porter 5 forces on the, just give me 2 seconds so I could just pull up the forces. So here we go. So the Porter 5 forces are the following. It is the bargaining power of suppliers. So let me just re-explain for persons who don't know what Porter 5 forces is, because I didn't go into that in my presentation. Porter 5 forces are 5 forces that were identified by Michael Porter that have an effect on your company. So these are the things that could kind of make or break you or make it difficult for you to do business. So you have the bargaining power of your supplier. So do I have lots of suppliers, or do I have only one supplier that could give me what I need in order to create or sell my products? If you have multiple suppliers, then you can negotiate your prices better than if there's only one person who can give you that matière première that you would need for your product. The same goes for the threat of new entrants. So is it easy to get on the market, or is it difficult? If it is easy to get on the market, then that threat is high because lots of people could get on your market. But if the barrier to entry is very high, then less persons can get on your market. So you have a better chance of having more shares in your market. The threat of substitutes. So that is, can what I am selling be substituted by something else? For example, persons who sell wigs, for example, someone selling braids or doing hair can be a substitute for your wigs. Somebody handling natural hair can also be a substitute, because your customers could decide, I don't want to wear a wig today, I want to braid my hair. The bargaining power of the buyers. So am I the only person able to supply this product or service to you? If I am not, then you'd say, okay, well, it's kind of like when you go to Backstreet. I know that I could get this pair of slippers by Lionhead, so I go and try to negotiate it. Instead of 15, I want to pay 12, and I'm going to say, okay, but lower down, I saw it for 10. Can your customers do that with you? That will permit you to understand, okay, so I have to set my price at this because this is the bargaining that is going to take place. And then industry rivalry. just kind of at the center, which is I would say managed, or I'm looking for my words, which is regulated rather by the four forces. You have that internal force, which is the rivalry, which are your competitors that are on the same market as you and that are also fighting those other four forces. Not only you're fighting those forces, but you're also combating kind of each other on the market for market shares.
All right, that was swift.
I tried, I'm trying.
The last question before the last. So, and it's Alex's last question. But how do I define my target customer and when should I define them? Should I do that after the market analysis or before or during the market analysis?
As I mentioned, and I'm just gonna say that to answer that question really quickly. When you are doing your market analysis and you're identifying your customers and you are looking at the market, these are not something that you do it once and then you put it down. You're actually going to go back on it because everything is intertwined. So if something else comes up that changes an element that you've already looked at, you're going to have to go back and make sure that all of the elements, when they're put together, are not contradicting each other, but more working together for the betterment of your strategy. So it doesn't matter if you start before or after. The importance is to do it and then to make sure in the end that it's coherent from beginning to end.
All right. And the last question for this evening by Nico Mo. What are your thoughts on undermining competition, which is a recurring issue on the territory? And should persons start off their business with cheap prices? I see that happening a lot of time.
So that is a very, very, very good question. I am looking for the slide on price. So when determining your price and the prices, I would say, to answer the first part of your question, it is a very big mistake to undermine your competition because, as we saw in the 5 forces of Porter, you guys are kind of in the same market and you're already combating the external forces. You all have your strengths and weaknesses, and it's business, everybody wants a piece of the pie and you need to make sure that you are the best. So to be the best, you have to know what is out there. So just like any sport or any element where you have to be against or working against others or in the same market as others, you need to know what they're doing to be able to do better. Now, when your prices are concerned, the issue with starting off with low prices is 2 things. If everybody is selling their burger for $6, okay, that's the national price of a burger on the island, and you are coming and you're selling your burger at $4, I'm going to ask myself, why are you having your burger that makes your burger less expensive than that other person? Is the meat old? Is the bread stale? Are you, I don't know, are you getting the salad from your garden? So I'm gonna ask myself all of these questions and I'm going to question the value of your burger. Now, if your price, if everybody is selling their burger at 6 and yours is at 10, I'm going to say, but what they dip the burger in gold? However, your price reflects the type of business that you are portraying to be. If you are a high-end company, your prices need to reflect that. That is how you set your price, not setting it pertaining to your competition. Your prices need to be calculated, and there are tools to do that, to calculate how what your margin should be, how are you actually making money, taking into account all of the other elements that come into that price. So where am I sourcing my products from? What is the price of my packaging? What is promotion costing me? All of those elements come into your price, and people just look at a price, but they tend to not look at all of the other elements that make up the price, and then they undermine the other factors. Their price is too low, and then they have to close because they're not actually making sufficient income to be able to sustain the business. So I would say before um, identifying or determining your price, it is important, yes, to look at what the others are selling their product at, because you have to kind of fit into the market. But at the same time, it is not the only and the sole factor that you need to look at in order to determine your price. And I
All
hope I
right.
answered the question as well.
I believe you did, and that was a wealth of information in that question. I'm seeing a comment, and I know that a lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs fail to do that analysis and assessment in order to define their prices.
Mm-hmm.
They come into the market and just feel that they have to meet the price of their competitors without taking the time to assess all of the elements that is going to allow them to fix their price and ensure that at the end of the day they can meet, of course, their expenses versus their revenues. So thank you very much for that answer, Ms. Carty, and thank you, Nikomo, for that question. I believe that, not I believe, we have reached to the end of our question and answer segment. I would like to thank everyone for addressing their question. Ms. Carty, I don't know if you have any last words before we go to the closing remarks.
I think I spoke enough, but I would like to thank everyone for signing in and also for asking those very interesting questions.
Thank you, Ms. Carty, for this wonderful presentation. I believe that we might have to do it back again
Oh
because it
boy.
seems like it arise the entrance of a lot. And I know that today your market analysis and your marketing strategy is fundamental.
Mhm.
As mentioned in the very first presentation, that all of the steps of your entrepreneurship journey is actually a puzzle that you're putting together, and you need each one of them in order to carry out your business journey successfully, so you do not have to undermine one for another, and one is not more important than the other. You have to go through all of those steps. So again, thank you for a wonderful presentation. And while before we leave each other, I would like to please ask everyone to answer the survey, because of course your feedback is going to help us better better our webinars and better the information that we're bringing to you. And know, of course, if we have to bring back Miss Carty for 1, 2, 3, 4 more presentation on specific items. Joy, can you please just the next slide for me, please? So while you're answering the survey, I put the link in the chat. Would just like to present the services that the CCESM are going to be proposing in line with this presentation. So we're going to have a training that will be organized in May. The date has not been set as yet, but as soon as this is available, you will be receiving the information. However, if you have an interest for that training, you may already send in an email to our training department, and you have the address on the email address on the slide. And that training will be mettre en place une stratégie commerciale. So actually defining a marketing strategy for your business. And that training will be 21 hours. So that's 3 days. The other service that we will be proposing you will be a workshop on marketing strategy, and that will be 3 hours. And I'm happy to say that that will be facilitated by Miss Carty on June 14. Participation fee is €50, and that will not be online. It will be physical, where you get to come in and define and get useful tips and information based on your marketing strategy, based on your personal project. So that is definitely something that you want to jump on. The information is not available as yet for you to register. Again, if you wish to be first to participate, you can also send us an email at cfe@ccism.com. And you also have the personalized business support service that is at your disposal for the little fee of €220. And you also have the CCE Business Builder application that I presented on Tuesday that can also help you to map out and help you with your marketing analysis and strategy. Most of the tools that Joy presented, well, most of the main ones are also available on the CCE Business Builder. So make sure that you create your account and you start using that application to build your project. So that's for the services. And now I would just like to make the announcement for the upcoming webinars. So next week, Tuesday, we have assessing the financial needs of your project. As Ms. Carty emphasized just now on the importance of knowing how much your product is going to cost you. So that webinar will be essential for you to know how much money you need to start your project and how do you define that. So next week, Tuesday, we have this presentation, which will be presented by Bruno Lizet, who is a registered certified accountant, so who has a great wealth of knowledge in that field. And then on Thursday, to align with that presentation on Tuesday, we will be presenting you two institutions who actually proposes financial solutions on the territory, and that is going to be ADI and Initiative Saint-Martin. So I encourage you to register as of now for those webinar. As you can see, this is definitely a series to allow you to build your project from A to Z. So that's it. Again, I thank you for your presence this evening and your participation. I do hope that this presentation was up to your expectation. Again, please take the time to fill out our survey. It is helpful to us. And I see you again next week, Tuesday, for another great information. Have a great evening, everyone, and we see on Tuesday.